Madelyn experienced both types of depression, reactionary depression and clinical depression. In one letter, she wrote that she said, I have made the mistake that I have criticized other people for. I stopped taking my little mood enhancer. The doctor had given me a prescription for 90 days, and by the time I got to the end of it, I was feeling so good. I thought, well, I don't need those anymore, so I just didn't get it refilled. I stopped taking them. But then it didn't take too long until I started waking up in the morning feeling this dark, heavy cloud over me, and I just didn't want to get out of bed, and I was just hurting all over from head to toe, and then I realized what was going on, and as soon as I did, I called the doctor. I got the prescription refilled, and it didn't take long for me to start feeling better. It happened pretty quick. So I'm not going to do that again. I'm just going to keep taking them as long as I need to take them. I think that's the smart and the safe thing to do right now. So she also experienced several bouts of reactionary depression. And the letter that I want to share with you now is one of them that was the most impactful and memorable for me. And I imagine the morning she wrote it, she would have been wearing her apron because, as you may remember, she always wore her apron because if you wear an apron, you don't get your clothes dirty, you don't have to wash them as often, and they don't wear out. So I can see her going into her wildly cluttered office area and going to her word processor, and this is what she wrote to me. Dear Elaine, I have been through several days of really miserable depression, and I think it all started with this stupid book, Simple Abundance. The author is a young woman. She's much younger than I am. She still has children in grade school or maybe in middle school. So she's a young woman, but she's writing about how to find your authentic self. So listen to what her advice is to me. She says that I should go to an artist supply store and get one of these big artist sketch pads, and then I'm to bring it home and tear out a sheet and tack it up on my wall. And then she wants me to sit down and look at magazines and go through and cut out pictures of the type of homes that I would like to live in. And then I'm supposed to take a glue stick and go glue these up on my artist sketchbook page. And then when I figure out the home that I want to live in, then I'm supposed to go to a travel agency and look at their racks of brochures for trips and cruises and adventures that I would like to take. And then I collect those and bring them home and cut out photos that represent each one of those things I'd like to do. And I take my glue stick and I go paste that up on my artist sketchbook page on the wall. And another thing. She says that I should have a goodie drawer that I fill with scented candles and bonbons, and that doing these things will help me get in touch with my authentic self. Good Lord, my authentic self. Oh, scented candles and bonbons. Are you kidding me? But you know, I got to thinking about it afterward, and I thought, when I was her age, we were too poor to quit farming. We had to build the new dairy barn to keep our grade A status, and I had to learn how to milk, and I hated every single minute I spent in that barn. But we had never even heard the word bankruptcy at that time, and even if we had, we would have never considered it. We just tightened our belts and we worked our way through it. But this was at the time that the women's liberation movement was getting started, and I was reading articles about men who were becoming impotent because they were having to dry dishes. Can you believe it? I mean, oh my goodness. Well, as I was scooping manure out of the cow barn and sometimes spitting it out of my mouth. I did not have a lot of sympathy for those men. I think my thoughts were more like, oh, you poor babies. My heart just bleeds for you. But when I look back now at that time, I realize I was being my authentic self. I was helping my husband hold on to what was precious to him. I was helping him accomplish his dream, and I was raising our 4 children. And I think at that time my authentic self was fully operational. And that made me feel a little better. But I can tell you, during my days of depression, I didn't want to do anything except for sleep and read. And it doesn't help anything that Quentin is happy to sit around in his Depends all day long at the kitchen table, listening to his talking books and just going in his Depends. But then I put him to bed at night, and somehow, after I get him tucked in and pull up that side rail, in the middle of the night, he decides he needs to get up and go to the bathroom, so he somehow gets that side rail down, and he gets himself situated and turned around to the side of the bed, and then he'll just pull off his pajama bottoms and his Depends, and then just whoosh, just let her rip, and it goes all over the bed, all over him, all over the floor, and he did that 3 times in one night. 3 times. And the last time I got him up, I walked around there standing in a puddle of urine. I stripped off his clothes. I dried a pin back on him. I put dried pajamas, and I set him down in the chair, and then I flipped the mattress, and I remade the bed again. And then I got him back into the bed, and I pulled the blanket up around his chin, and I pulled up that side rail, and I got right down in his face, and I said, Quentin, if I catch you on the side of the bed again, I am going to take a belt to you. I was mad as hell, and I deserved it. I've never hurt him, and I never want to. But that night, I felt like it. Oh, I really, really felt like it. But then last night, as I was doing my stretches and my exercises, I was praying, and the Bible verse came to me, all who are weary and heavy burdened, come unto me, and I will give you rest. That was all I could think of, all I could remember, but that just kept going through my mind over and over and over again. And this morning, I woke up feeling like myself again. So, do you see how Madelyn applied the 3 steps of creative indifference to this episode of reactionary depression? She didn't know that this was a process she had, but this is what she did every single time she had some person, situation, or event that caused her a great deal amount of stress. The first step was she became aware of it by writing it down. The second step is she accepted what was their current reality. She knew she was never going to have a new house. She knew she and Quentin were never going to take any more trips or have any adventures. She knew the only way out of this, the only way that this was going to end, was with Quentin's death. And she took action. She believed in a loving and benevolent God, and she prayed every day that she would be a willing channel for God's love and caring. She also listened to Deepak Chopra tapes. She dabbled in flower essence. She learned to meditate. She listened to classical music. And at age 75, she became a certified Reiki instructor. Now, none of these things changed her situation, but it did help her control her thinking and her attitude toward all of the things that were the most challenging, the most heart-wrenching, and the most difficult for her to manage.